So in this episode, we are doing a DIY fringe basket. Okay, let's get making. Season 1 is all about yarn. So yarn is usually associated with knitting or crocheting and your grandma. There will be no knitting taking place in this season, so if you're looking for a full knitting tutorial, you're going to have to look elsewhere. We are going to be making some chic DIYs to decorate your space using yarn. Hey guys, welcome to the very first season of Make This. I'm Cara, and I'm the creator behind Never Skip Brunch. Today, we're going to add some super chic fringe to a wicker basket. This DIY is super simple, like beginner level simple. So before we get started with this DIY, hit the red subscribe button below so you can stay up to date with this entire series and all my fun and fresh ideas. Decor with a lot of texture is super trendy right now. Anything that has a lot of fibers, a lot of textile is really in. We're gonna turn a regular wicker basket into a statement piece that's gonna up-level your space, capitalize on this trend, and the best part, it's not permanent. So if you're like me and you're switching out decor all the time, it's something that you can easily change out, change the colors, change the textures, or revert the basket back to its original state if it's really something you get sick of. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the bigger version that I did, and here's what the finished version is going to look like. I'll show you a picture here. You can use whatever size basket you want for this. I'm going to be using a smaller one for the tutorial, just so it's easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. Feel free to use whatever size you need in your space or whatever one you have on hand. So we're going to do a similar pattern to that one, so these will kind of coordinate. Let's go over what you need. The first thing you need is your basket. The second thing you need is yarn. The more variety, the better. I like to have a couple of neutrals, so these are just different textures. So this one's like a little bit softer and a little bit smoother, and this one's a little bit more coarse. It's kind of a braided material, so it comes apart and it frays, which is great because you can pull it apart on purpose. Then for this design, I picked two different colors, and they are also different textures. This one's a little bit chunkier and this one's a little bit smaller, but all together that's going to create great variety and add a ton of interest to your fringe. The next thing you need is some wire. It doesn't have to be blue, it doesn't matter what color. This is what you're going to use to make a needle for your yarn. So really you just need a piece about 4 inches long, and what you're going to do is fold this, run your yarn through this. You're going to use this to go in and out of the wicker of your basket to be able to loop all of these yarn pieces. And then the last thing you need is some scissors. So any scissors will work. Fabric scissors or sharp scissors are going to be best for dealing with your yarn and cutting it. The other thing you might need is a flathead screwdriver. So this you might need to use for your basket if it's a really tight weave and there's not like a clear top part. A screwdriver can help you kind of like wedge between the weaving of the basket and give you space for your needle to pop through. On this basket, it's super clear, you know, that there's a top part, and this is super easy to poke through because this is a very distinct piece, so you can go through right here through these grooves and under it. So this was super easy to get through. On this basket, it's not as clear. There's not like a round top piece. I'm going to start on this corner and work my way this way. My pattern starts with yellow. So the way you want to measure your yarn is to take a piece, you're going to fold it over until you have about half your basket's length in the yarn, and that's the length of your piece. It doesn't have to reach all the way down. We're going to be cutting it later. So you just measure to make sure you have double your basket's width and then cut. So I'm going to start off by cutting a bunch of pieces of yarn. You can cut them like one at a time as you go if you're not sure how you want your pattern to go. Once you have a few pieces cut, you're just going to want to thread one onto your needle. So this is super simple. You just open up your wire piece, put the middle of your yarn inside of it, and then close it. and pinch the ends together. So now you have kind of a needle that you can use to thread through your basket. Starting on this corner, I like to go from the inside out because it makes the loops look really nice on the front. So you just kind of go into the corner with your needle and then pull through, and then you'll have a little loop of yarn. So now you don't have to pull this all the way through, you just need a tiny little piece at the end. Then you're gonna take these ends and push them through this little loop that you created. So you take them through, and then you kind of tighten it up against your basket. So that's really all there is to it to get the fringe on. But you can see because I came in from the back, I have this nice little clean loop that's gonna help it look pretty polished. I'm gonna do just some more yellow pieces, and then I'm gonna switch over and switch colors, and then I'll show you some different like texture things you can do to give yourself some good variety when it comes to making this all look visually appealing. So you can see what it looks like now that I have my first 3 pieces on, and now I'm going to swap and do a different color. So I can use just one of the pieces I've cut to measure. I'm going with this white that is pretty smooth. It's not really like a braided material. It doesn't even have any twists in it. It's kind of just a really smooth, chunky yarn. So I'm gonna cut a few of these. So when it comes to your pattern, there's really no like trick to it. You could go super symmetrical and do like stripes, you could do all one color, or you could go really random, which is kind of what I did. Larger and smaller stripes, a different variety of textures. That's what I think makes it look a lot more interesting, so that's what I chose to do. Now I'm just gonna do some white right next to the yellow. I did 2 pieces of the chunky white, and now I'm going to do a couple of these pieces that are, it's the braided thread that's a little bit thinner. For these, I'm going to do just one of them for now. You can kind of see how it's adding a little bit of texture. It's still the same color, but it's just kind of a good variety. And for these, I'm actually going to pull one of these apart. You just kind of start at the end and kind of start loosening the braid. Just pull it apart. You can pull it apart all the way to the top or just halfway, depending on what look you're going for. I kind of usually do a variety. I do some all the way pulled, some halfway, but you can see this is getting a lot more stringy and a lot more textured. Monochromatic contrast is one of the most visually appealing things. Everything's the same color, the texture is just different, and it's a great way to add interest without adding like a ton of color. So if you wanted to do like a full white fringe basket, you could still make it super interesting based on varying textures. Now I'm just gonna add a couple more white pieces, and because I did 2 on the other side, this time I'm gonna do 3 so that there's some good variety. So the way to get these knots really tight, you can kind of just work it like this and it will kind of tighten itself. So you can see how we have some texture starting to happen. I'm gonna keep going with the white. I'm gonna do a couple more pieces, then I'll probably change colors. gonna take and pull apart some of the pieces to give it added texture. I'm gonna start over here. This just kind of unravels. It's like a twist. So you just kind of twist to unravel. You wanna do it gently and start at the bottom so you can see how now we have another type of texture within the same color. And I'm gonna go over here and do this one. The braid is a lot more tight than this twist. Okay, now that that one's all done, I'm gonna grab one of these pieces just so you can see all the different kinds of textures you can get with each. You don't have to like unwind or pull these apart if you want them to be more clean. I just like having a variety of sizes of yarn as well as textures. It's kind of like the boho macrame sort of vibe. Here's where we are now with all these different fibers. For the other one, I cut kind of a diagonal line on the fringe to keep it a little bit clean. I'll show you a photo and then I'll show you how I cut that one right now before we cut this. So I'm going to cut a diagonal here and then a diagonal here, so we have kind of like an off-centered triangle that peaks in the middle. So your cut's going to be the cleanest if you use fabric scissors or sharp scissors. You just want to hold it up kind of like level. You want to let all the fringe and the yarn hang down. All your pieces are kind of like in their own zone. So I'm going to start in the corner at the bottom of my basket and just do a diagonal line going up towards the blue. And these don't have to be perfect. If it's not like a haircut where if pieces are out of line, they're gonna look really dumb. Kind of cut a diagonal line up to my blue, and then I'm gonna finish with a sharper diagonal line going down. So I'm gonna start in my corner now and go up kind of a little more abruptly. So these you can really just cut however you want, like however you want it to be styled, however you want it to look. I wanted to experiment with this like off-centered triangle look. You can kind of like brush these out with your hands and then see if there's any more cuts that need to be made. So for mine, this is kind of like sagging instead of going in a straight line. Crisp that up a little bit. The nice thing about this is if you get your cut wrong, I could just take these guys out, fill them in with more longer ones, and give it a better look. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. It's super, super simple. That is kind of the finished look. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the red subscribe button down below and also the notification bell so that way you stay up to date with this series and you can find out what's coming next for Yarn It.
Just wanna go home, home, back home. I've been gone for way too long. Home, home. Just wanna go home, home. I'm on my way back home.